that. This is recording live off my little app that happened today. And it's a Sunday morning, about 11:30, and I'm about to get in the car. I'm going to stop that. Oh yeah. I've got no idea if that worked at all. But I've loaded up the gear for the band. We're going to play at the Currawa Surf Club now. And for someone's going away, a guy I've known for a long time, and his mate, one of them is going back to London, and he's lived here for 20 years or something, and my other mate, and they're about 50-year-old sort of blokes who are lifesavers at Currawa Surf Club, and the other one, Rob, he bought himself a $1,600 Nissan Irvan, and he's going to travel around Australia, which sounds awesome, by the way. Sounds great. So the news is that I'm here waiting a minute to get on out and go to the gig. We're loading in at 1. What I want to talk about is musician's guilt. If you're a musician and it's the weekend, obviously there's nothing more fun than being in a band and rocking out. You're in this kind of cool little team. Why am I doing an upward inflection? I'm trying to get actually really better at speaking. I think that because I've been sitting in an office working alone for a long time, I've actually lost the art. So this is really actually good for me. So I hope you bear with me. And by the time I reach the 100 episodes, it'd be interesting to see how I sound on doing a live podcast, because I notice I always stop and start and and I was thinking that at about 2 o'clock last night. Anyway, musician's guilt is when you've got a little family at home and a beautiful wife, and this is what you do. You say, oh, geez, I've got to go to this gig. Oh, I've got to go to this gig. And they're very supportive, but your little kids are like, oh, don't go. Let's have fun. And you're like, yeah, oh, geez, I feel bad. And then once you get in the car, you're like, all right, boys, let's have some fun. Which is natural for everyone, I bet. But you know what I'm saying? Where it's kind of strange. It's like you're going to a party every week. Because you sort of the bonus is you're bringing home money. I said in one of my first podcasts that hobbies are exactly the same as being in a cover band. You're doing some sort of hobby that if you're not interested in someone else's hobby, you're just not interested. It's like, oh yeah, it kind of looks fun, but I wouldn't waste any time on it, Just say if you were to play touch footy, or no, something better, something like whatever, touch football. You would practice, I don't know, Tuesday nights, so you'd have 3 or 4 hours away from home there, and then on the weekend during the season, you'd spend half your Sunday or whatever with these guys or girls doing that little hobby. And so it takes time away from your own little family. It's obviously really good for you. But in effect, it doesn't make you any money. Well, I'm really happy to say that all the years I've been bumming around on a guitar and in original bands forever, making a little bit of cash but nothing. Finally, I've got something where all we have to do is learn a song and a few songs every week, and play them with some great mates, and make sure everyone in the room is having a good time. And you get off stage going, yeah, that was just so much fun anyway. And then they hand you a bit of money. I think that's a good hobby to have. So I urge you to pull the game controller out of your kid's hands and teach him an instrument that can maybe be useful even when he's old, and just decide to go, yeah, here's a hobby I really love and I can still make a bit of coin out of it. Anyway, Currawa Surf Club, downstairs, private party. Last time we did it for these guys was about 3 years ago, and I was in a band called The Bastards, playing bass. This time I'm singing in a cover band, the music we play is perfect for these guys. And something just flashed in my mind that you've got to know. The update. I was talking to Cindy Bartram in my last podcast about these Japanese people my wife knows who have come to Australia and they hired a car. There's 4 adults and one 5 or 6 year old boy, and they jumped in a hire car and instantly drove to Alice Springs. And their plan is to do 1,000 kilometres every day in a hire car. They've got camping gear in the back. They're staying at cheap motels, and they're on the first trip out to Alice Springs, they hit a huge red kangaroo, and it ripped the front bumper bar off the hire car, and the lady was driving it. So she kind of refuses now to drive that car, and she's sort of tormented by it all. So now it's just the one bloke, the guy that invented the whole camping Australian holiday scenario. He's doing all the driving. So now my wife's got him on the Line app so they can at least sort of see photos of where they are in the world. They didn't take a GPS. They didn't take really any safety gear. It's absolutely nuts. Japanese people are funny like that. You know what I mean? Just sort of trusting of everything, I guess. But they've got a great culture. Everything's really supportive. And but I tell you what, you know the trick. You ever heard of the trick where people in the outback get quite... They sort of know when a hire car is coming, and then they'll pretend to have a problem with their car themselves, and then what they're really trying to do is to rob you, because you'll never find those people again. And so if you pull over, you don't really want to pull over and try and help someone. You don't want to get straight out of your car. You need to be prepared for that scenario, which is what I'm trying to tell my wife. Is just you need to be tricky. If I was to drive, if you, me, or anyone that lived in Australia their whole lives were to drive to Alice Springs tomorrow in a hire car, you'd load up that thing with everything. Well, these people have just jumped in like it's a camping holiday, and I swear they don't even have a GPS. But I'm happy to say they've gone out to Alice Springs. They went down to Cooper Pedy. Now they're in Brisbane. They're actually in Brisbane City. And guess what they're going to do tomorrow? Oh, it's nuts. What is it today? It's Sunday. Well, on Friday they fly out of Japan. Guess what they're going to do between Sunday today and Friday? They're getting in their car this afternoon and driving straight to Cairns, staying one night, and then driving all the way back to Sydney to the airport. Japanese people, what are you doing? Could you think of anything more horrible than your only 2-week holiday in another country, where the entire time you spent in a Mitsubishi Magna with one driver who's sort of just all the twisties he starts to eat, because he starts to get into twisties. He doesn't know what these twisties are because they don't sell twisties in roadhouse twisties. They're like, whoa, nani sore? What's this? What are these twisties? I'm going to eat them for the next 2 weeks. So that your leaching skin is coming out smelling like twisties. So you're in the back seat for this entire trip to mayhem and madness. So for the next 22 hours, they're going to try and drive straight to Cairns. I drove to Townsville, which was, I remember it taking us 20 hours. We did it as a band in 1990, I think. It was just horrible. The whole back seat collapsed. Just all I remember was pain and misery. So there's 4 adults, 1 kid in a hire car. Blah. Anyway, I'm going to go get ready now. I'm going to go over to pick up all the rest of our gear to do a great show today and have the best time with that current feeling of musician's guilt while my wife's looking after the kids at home. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying, musicians? And in whatever 1 hour, I'll be enjoying a steak and a beer before our show, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's musician's guilt right there. I woke up today to a funny thing. This thing on Spreaker. I just got a phone call. That'd be the funniest thing if that phone call was recorded. Anyway, I'm about to go. I don't know what to do, but watch this. What happens when I press this button? I don't know either. Anyway, thanks again. See you later. Quack quacks. And next week, 3 people are coming on the podcast. How good's that? Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. I'm an app on iTunes. They made it an app. It's an app on iTunes. It's kind of ridiculous that it's an app. And pretty fun at the same time. So, do yourself a favour and finger me on iTunes. Yeah!